Good morning, everybody. We're just going to give it a few more minutes and then we'll get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. It looks like it's 10 o'clock. So welcome, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us. I think you're going to be really excited about what you see today. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we'll just take a couple seconds to learn how to interact today. All of your controls are on the right-hand side of your screen. If you want to ask a question, you're welcome to click the raise your hand button to go ahead and raise your hand. You can ask an audio question. There's also a chat box on the right-hand side where you can type your comments throughout the presentation. We will have a Q&A at the end of the presentation, so if you have any questions, you can save them till the end, or you can kind of ask as we go through. My name is Nicole. I'll be your moderator today. So what we're going to talk about today is a couple different things. We're going to talk about how we use SMS or texting in our daily lives today, how businesses are incorporating SMS, a quick overview of the IPitimi SMS capabilities and how these capabilities are going to benefit your business. Today our speakers include Greg. He's the CEO and founder of IPitimi. Greg is a pioneer in the unified communications and telecommunications industry. We've also got Ravi here. Ravi is IPitimi's CTO and the brains behind the IPitimi SMS platform. We're going to do a quick poll to get us started off. There's going to be two different questions. They're going to pop up on your screen. They're multiple choice questions, so just pick your answer and then we'll go ahead and switch to the next questions and then we'll check out what the results are going to be. So our first question is, how much do you depend on SMS or text messaging to communicate every day? So take just a couple seconds and answer that really quickly and then we'll switch to the next question. All right, and the next question is, in your workplace, do you use an SMS or texting app to communicate with your coworkers? Just a quick yes or no. All right, so let's see what the results are. All right, so the results should be up on your screen. Quite a few of us use texting pretty regularly. So let's talk about that. Texting today. Here are some quick statistics that show how much we all depend on text messaging as a form of communication. Over the last decade, texting has increased by 70,700%. 18.7 billion text messages are sent worldwide every day. Text messaging is the most used data service in the world. In addition, the American texting statistics show that 81% of Americans text regularly, and America is responsible for approximately 45% of the world's text volume. So with texting numbers like that, it's clear that businesses need to incorporate texting into their daily operations, and it definitely needs to be part of their communication platforms. So how can businesses use texting capabilities every day? We have a couple different use cases here. We've got sales and marketing campaigns, internal communications, lead generation, as a customer service tool, for collections and billing, reviews, surveys, and feedback. Does anyone else have any ideas about how a business can use SMS in their operations? You can put them over in the chat box and we'll take a look at them. So if you have any ideas of how SMS could benefit your business, give me some ideas. I've got some examples here, maybe appointment reminders for doctor's offices, logistics, we've got tracking information, delivery confirmation. There's also some dispatch. A dispatch department could benefit from SMS. So the use cases for SMS with businesses is really endless. It's really important. So we're going to talk about how IPitimi SMS is helping businesses. What IPitimi SMS is a product, it's a perfect solution for every business. Our SMS is a clientless SMS platform that allows contact centers and business systems to interact with customers through texting or MMS pictures without disrupting the existing phone services. SMS can be enabled on virtually any local or toll-free number, along with international capabilities. So what that means is we don't have to be your voice carrier. Even if it's on a local T1 or a phone company, we can still activate the SMS platform on the phone number. So some of the features to watch out for as we're going through the demo of our services, with the dynamic routing capabilities, you've got skills-based routing, intelligent recognition, unresponsive agent, no hold options. We've also got some quick responses like autoresponders and macro-built responses. And there's also a supervisor dashboard and portal where you can view real-time monitoring, advanced routing. And all of these are simply included in your SMS. That's just the SMS platform. So what I'm going to do now is turn it over to Ravi. Ravi's going to take some time to explain exactly how it works. And give you some details about what the IPitimi SMS can do.
Thank you, Nicole. Good morning to you all. We're going to go through the slides. The SMS as a platform has a single sign-on integrated for authentication. We use Google single sign-on for our applications, where we authorize our application at the same time user for getting the access. The other thing that we also do is we have roles-based access for some of the things that Nicole has presented on the previous slides. We provide dashboard for supervisors, admins. We provide SMS chatting capabilities for supervisors and agents. So the roles are completely separated so that each one will have their own view and role authorization. Let's go on to the next slide. I'm going to help you understand the logic for receiving an inbound message. We call this automatic message distribution. It works very similar to call center. I'm sure many of you are used to the call centers. There are three main blocks, as you can see on the slide. Onto the left, you have got all the devices. A device can be either a mobile phone, or it can be a desktop, or it can be anything else like a click to SMS. It can be any of those combinations. And you don't need a client because SMS is available on almost every platforms. I use a Mac, so I have an SMS client on a Mac. So you don't need anything else out of the box. It comes out of the box and you can start using it. And then in the middle, you have our queue or our intelligence logic, which applies two sets of rules. One rule is the queuing logic, where we route the inbound message based on number of conversation an agent is on, the skill level of an agent, the agent time in a given status. And we also look into the multiple conversations that an agent is able to handle. Let me just take 1 second to explain what multiple conversations means. In a call scenario, you can only handle one call at a time, or maximum 2 calls, where you can put one call on hold and take the other call. Since SMS has the luxury of not being real time and also not being real time, you can have agents take more than one or two conversations. A conversation is handling customers. Each customer, we treat that as a conversation. So you could have more than one conversation where the messages can be distributed to an agent. And by the way, it is configurable value in our system. And what we have seen ergonomically with what we have deployed so far, an agent can easily handle up to 4 conversations simultaneously without causing any kind of distractions based on the messages entering the agent desk. So the queuing logic basically applies these logics. And then we also have pullback timers. These are very similar to the bounced call logics. But we also, since this is text-based, we also added additional timers to pull the message at the same time close it based on various inactivity timers. I'm going to explain this in detail in the other sessions, in the other slides. And then the last block that we have is the agent itself, where they would be able to send and receive messages. But what we have done is we also added macros. Macros are like canned messages. You can add canned messages for agents to reduce the time to type, at the same time to have a corporate standard message that can be embedded into it for receiving and sending information. And you can also close the transaction based on what is sent and received with a disposition code. Can we animate it so that we can show the screen? The message comes in from the client. The message is presented to the agent. An agent would be on it. The message is presented to the next agent doesn't answer, it bounces to the next agent in the queue. The queue gets the priority automatically applies to the logic for the messages in the queue, and each message is given its priority so that it gets to the front of the message. Please let us know if you have any questions. If not, I'm just going to move on to the next slide. You can also use chat on the GoToMeeting to present your questions to us. The next one is auto reply, and here is where I want to basically talk about a few things. We have 2 types of auto replies in a queue. The auto replies are the auto replies that it's like a welcome greeting a user gets when a message is presented to the queue. That is one set of auto response. The second is the macros, where the agent can take the canned messages and respond back. And third is a category where we call it an inactivity timer, or inactivity auto replies. And fourth, inactivity means either agent not answering or agent answering and customer not replying. We can kick in few automatic responses. And then fourth category is when you close a conversation. You have successfully answered a customer question, and then you have closed the conversation, and then we send a thank you message. Those are the 4 auto replies that are set at a queue level, where these can be configured and they can be customized based on customers' requirements. Let's move on to the next slide. The next one talks about an outbound message. You have seen on the previous slide an inbound message. The logic works similar to what you have seen in the inbound message. The only caveat here is we give you a choice to pick the queue number before replying to the message. What it means is if you have, let's say, an agent, let's say, is assigned to 15 queues, then we will give you a drop down for selecting the origination of the queue for reaching a customer, so that the transaction will be specific to it, specific to a campaign, specific to a customer requirement, or specific to how we have initiated the conversation. So all those can be dispositioned based on the queue numbers. I'm not going to go into more details because these work pretty much similarly in the other way. Can we go to the next slide? All right, so the next one talks about the capabilities that are there with each of the things that we have listed. I'm going to show you agent capabilities. An agent would be able to change the status. The status meaning they would be able to put their status either in available or away. By default, when the user is logged into the application, the status is set to available. And similarly, when the agent is responding to users, there is a status called conversation status. So it clearly shows for a supervisor on whether the agent is available or whether the agent is engaged in a conversation. And then the customer is given the agent is given the history of the message as long as the message is not dispositioned and closed. Can we go to the next slide? Here is where you would see the screen. When the agent logs in, as you can see, they are limited to using the SMS processing engine, where the agent would be given a message. This is again, the concept is very similar. The message arrives. There are two panels here. Onto the left, you have the summary of the messages. Onto the right, you have detailed. So let's say if an agent handles 4 conversations, each conversation is given a unique ID in our system. That ID stays until the message is marked complete. And it also has the details of who actually sent this message, the queue number to which the message was received on, the queue name, the date and time of that particular message. The message arrives, and then onto the right-hand side, this is where you would see the conversation that is happening between the customer and an agent. In addition to it, there are these macros, which you see in terms of number 11, and then number 12 is the disposition code. This is for an inbound message. An outbound message, you would hit compose and send the message out. The other messages, other options that are listed there are away and available status. The third and last option is the mark as complete option, where a customer would be able to close a transaction and successfully move on to the next message. Let's move on to the next slide. The next one I'm going to talk about is a supervisor client. When a supervisor logs into the system, we're going to show the capabilities. A supervisor would be able to send and receive messages like an agent, but supervisor also has 2 more options. One, they are given option to monitor the status of messages in the queue and the messages the agents are handling, in addition to monitoring the agent status. In addition to it, we also provide 2 more options. One is providing generating the reports, and third is managing the queue. Managing the queue in terms of adding the agents, removing the agents, changing the greetings of an agent, which are the auto replies, and few other options. So from a supervisor perspective, if I have to summarize, there are 4 options: send, receive messages, dashboards, reports, and then provisioning. Those are the 4 options the supervisor gets. Can we go to the next slide? Here is the dashboard. There are 2 levels to the dashboard. What we are showing you here is 1 level, and Greg, when he goes into the demo, he's going to show you both levels. This is the level at which you are seeing the messages in the queue, in a given queue. The queue name is IPitimi queue. Onto the right-hand side, you are seeing all the agents and agent statuses and the conversations the agents are handling. Next slide. This one is for reporting and billing. There are a lot of options that are provided in reporting. We are going to give you a demo of it, but I'm going to just highlight 1 or 2 features which are going to be critical. Very similar to voice mining, we also provide text mining, where you would be able to match a text through a report and understand whether a compliance for an organization is met, or whether the customers are asking for certain patterns for you to mine through the data to understand the data analytics portion of the messages that are being received. Similarly, you would be able to filter on many options that are listed, and this list keeps growing, and we would be able to show you all those options in the demo. As far as billing is concerned, we use a unified billing for SMS, which we call messaging block and voice block. Both of them are built together in the invoicing system that we have. Next one. This is over to Greg.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Ravi. I'm going to go ahead and just really pick up right where Ravi left off and show you actually a live demonstration of the product. Many of you have always had a lot of interaction with companies or products as you need help online, and we're going to discuss why SMS is going to replace that entirely. But first I'll show you I'm logged in as a supervisor, so as Ravi was mentioning, there is a dashboard. The supervisor can come in to the dashboard and see if there were any active conversations, any of the particular demo agents here, what their status was, how many conversations they had, or so forth. An administrator in the organization has the ability to come in and provision users and provision queues as they please. all the parameters such as user ID, whether they're going to be both in and outbound, contact center. If we're going to give them the ability to have their own personal SMS messaging as well, or just use the, let's just say the one for the queue, what those numbers are, including emails, and also assign them administrator roles themselves, whether they're agent, supervisor, or system admin. Queues, you know, they can select from a wide number of queue numbers that are assigned to a particular agent. We have one customer with, over 3,000 numbers just in one single queue. Is that about right, Ravi, or has that changed?
It's more than 3,000, that's right.
Okay. So the assignment, just some of the settings that our system allows for. You can obviously assign specific departments to a group. You can create your own dispositions, you know, such as, you know, closed, resolve the ticket, or whatever it is that you want to use. As for the queue distribution sequence, you can arrange it such as how long the person's been in the time, you know, in their specific status of available or not, maybe skill levels, and so forth are an important part of the organization, and so you can obviously, you know, create those settings. The call center reports we'll get into actually after a live demo, but I'll go ahead and, you know, do a live demonstration right now and give you a kind of a silly scenario that I guess I'll just kind of make up as we go along. But when most people log into, let's say, Dell.com, and it has a little Chat Now button, you might, you know, click on the link on your computer, and then you have to enter in your email and your name, and then you wait for an agent to be able to start helping you. If you're like all the rest of us, a lot of other things start to take priority. Maybe it's an urgent phone call or an email. Some of us just get lost browsing Facebook, and you go back to that conversation, and all of a sudden it's gone, and you have to start over. But the biggest problem with that is, if you're running a contact center or call center, is those types of solutions are not only extremely expensive, but they're now irrelevant. Why? About starting last year, mobile web browsing eclipsed desktop browsing by a huge margin, and it's just continuing to grow. That means that people are no longer using their desktop to communicate or browse the web. We're using our mobile lives, and as you go about your day, you need instant access to the types of communication that are more efficient. I'm going to call in. Let's just say I'm on the road.
Thank you for calling the demo call center number. We are currently experiencing a high number of calls, and your expected wait time may be longer than usual. If you would like immediate assistance, please send a text message to the same number you...
So now I can say, oh, okay, now I can actually just send this same number a text message, even if it's, you know, a toll-free number. And a lot of us like that because we might be going into a meeting or some other things. And so I'm going to go ahead and actually send a text message right now before I log in, so that you can see that there's now a message waiting in the queue. I already got an instant response with some of the autoresponder logic that Ravi was talking about, but I'm going to go ahead and log in now as an agent. And as an agent, I'm instantly, you know, presented with, you know, the text, "Can somebody help me?" With the macros he was discussing, you can have all of the right corporate messaging predefined, maybe answers to frequently asked questions, or so on. So here I'm just going to select this particular greeting and then send that back to the customer. Please tell me how I can best assist you. So I'm going to just reply back and say something like, I need help installing a new router, right? And so then I, you know, send that. And then they can say something like, you know, here's a, I'm going to actually send in a text message like, you know, here we go. And I'll say, you know, what do I do? Customer, is going to send in. Let me see. I'm on my turn off my phone. So the customer might send in what they have. I can then simply come in and attach, let's just say, an example of what type of router or what to do, and then send that message to the client. So, there's a lot of use cases for this type of an environment. Obviously, SMS enabling a person's business line is easy. We can do that for you as well. The purpose of what this conversation was and this demonstration was to show you how we have created and innovated SMS to make it a completely distributed architecture where you can have agents, taking conversations and helping your customers. The best part about that pullback timer and everything else Ravi was talking about is that if for some reason I get busy with multiple conversations, which would all be showing right here, this entire contextual conversation will be pulled back and redelivered to a new available agent. So that's a little bit about how this tool works. I'll just click over to the call center reporting before we start opening up or asking for questions. Again, if you have any now or ideas, please feel free to chat them in the chat box. In the call center reporting, everybody is really keen on and an important part of making sure that all of their data is centralized into their CRM systems or whatever corporate systems that they use. And that's totally capable with our system. The best part about what we've shown you is that it is a clientless application. What we just demonstrated on a user calling in from their mobile phone, how many of us do that? Probably everyone, is that the customer did not need to download an application to communicate with us. Even regular phones that aren't smartphones, the old Nokia bricks, have the ability to send and receive text messages. So this is a ubiquitous product that everybody already has, and most people already understand relative to the other types of systems. Also, logging in or online to those chat things, you can become anybody you want. Create your own name, create your own fake email, and it's not really valid or legitimate. Sometimes they waste a lot of people's times because they start goofing off. With our service, we actually know the real number they're calling or texting you from. We even have the ability to pull the data, such as if they're on a prepaid or postpaid plan, and we can do the reports, was what I'm showing you right here, on how frequent of a user is this particular person or so forth. So I'm just going to pull a generic report, and let's just pull one for a little over a week. And I'll leave all the other fields blank, and I'll just hit search. And what this report here is going to show me is that it will literally list, it creates a unique ID for every single conversation, and conversation ID. It will show you what messages were sent and received to the customer within that client interaction. It will tell you if it was a customer's inquiry or what they said, any of the automated messages that are replied based off of keywords that they might send in. What the customer and agents all say, and all of this information can be exported or downloaded or pushed into any of your other applications. We also have the ability, the way our system and network is designed, I don't know if you saw how quick those messages were sent and received. We have built our architecture directly into the carriers, which is about 1 to 2 levels higher than most of the applications that you've ever seen on the marketplace. And that's because we have guaranteed delivery, and we're right at the top tier level. I'll let Ravi explain a little bit more about that, but we can even send you a report with 7 different types of delivery codes that tell you if the message was sent, and received, if maybe the phone didn't receive it because it was powered off or something, but all of those details make for a true interactive experience. Ravi, do you want to expand a little bit more about the call center reporting?
Yes, there are two things that I would like to highlight. One of the things that I would like to highlight here is the ID that Greg was showing. The first column that you're seeing, Greg, if you drag and drop that particular column, you would see the full message ID there. The criticality of this message ID is that this is a unique message ID which is associated with SMS. So let's say that there is either a spam or something else happening in the system. We would be able to take that ID, hit the carriers directly, so that we would be able to quickly resolve your issue, which means we are helping you to reduce the time involved and identify the problem, which is a unique proposition there. The second thing that I would like to highlight is what Greg was showing, which is the last column, which is delivery confirmation. In fact, if the participating carrier, there are 4 major carriers in the US and there are also minor carriers, but if the participating carrier to which the message is being sent has the ability to provide the feedback, we provide the delivery confirmation all the way from the device itself. So you would see the 7 different messages that are there. As you can see here, the one that is highlighted, it says delivered, confirmed with a delivery receipt, which means this is coming all the way from the device itself. So let's say if I have a mobile phone and if Greg sends me a message, we are giving you the delivery confirmation all the way from the mobile phone. And there is a second scenario where we would say that the message is delivered, but there is no confirmation receipt, which means the carrier is able to receive it, but the device has doesn't have the ability to give us the information on whether the message was received or not. The other thing that I also want to highlight here is the agent name, which is one of the columns that are there in between. Yes, that's the column, Greg. The agent name is dynamic. What it means is when the user logs in with the ID, we pull this dynamically using SSO, which is our single sign-on. So let's say you decide to remove that agent or reassign the same ID to a different agent name. We pull it dynamically using our single sign-on system, and this is populated. It is only populated if the agent signs into the system. If the agent doesn't sign into the system, we don't provide that information. And similarly, we provide you the information on disposition codes and few other things which are selected during the conversation with the customer. So those are the things that I want to highlight. Greg, back to you.
Thank you. Obviously, the status on the delivery confirmation over here doesn't apply because these are messages that were sent in or so forth, to agents. So, all right, thank you. Obviously, the personal report for any personal, if they have that, it can be used. But the best part about our service is that you don't need to use our dashboards or our system. We actually have this enabled via API, that you can build this into your own applications as well. So, Nicole, I think you have some things you might want to go ahead and take back. We can discuss. But do we have the ability to open up for any questions?
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and open up the floor. If you have any questions, feel free to push that raise your hand button, or you're welcome to type any questions into the chat box. While we're kind of waiting for you to think of anything, we'll just kind of briefly go over, review the benefits. So again, the SMS portal is accessible and easy to use. There's no downloads. It can be accessed online, anytime, anywhere. Authentication is integrated with your Google account. Pretty much everyone has a Google account, so that's great. It's full redundancy, failover safeguards, and intelligent routing capabilities ensure that messages are delivered 100% of the time. So you don't have messages go missing. You'll always know where they're at. It can be added on top of what you have regardless of the voice carrier, and you still can use the same number. So again, we don't have to be your phone company in order to enable the service on the numbers. Also, there's no limit to how many messages can be sent and received on the platform. With other carriers, there's some limits. So if you're having thousands of messages go through, we're okay with that, whereas other carriers, that may not be the case. So that's an important detail to highlight. So if we have any questions, we've got the experts here. We'd love to answer them for you.
Yeah, there are a few questions. One of them is from Beth, and she asked the question, how are SMS messages handled during the client's business hours when they are not using their answering service? Well, that's a good question, Beth. The SMS messages don't have to follow the. I'm familiar with your business, so I'm just going to respond in that fashion. But customers' SMS messages don't follow the same location that they're forwarded to or where they're ringing at the time. So if they're business hours and it's going to the office, or they're after hours forwarding to the answering services, the SMS messages can go anywhere you want them at any time. It's just a matter of who maintains or manages those. So that is an actual feature or benefit that you can sell to your client is that you can now manage those things all day long on their behalf. Or if they want to have one of their staff, which it's unlikely, manage that during the day. So you can now man or enable all of the SMS messages for your clients regardless of the hour.
The important factor is both are individual silos. You can receive and manage them separately. Let's say if you're not managing SMS, the messages would be queued, and you can view them when the agent signs into the system on a distribution system. If it is a personal message, it works very similar to your mobile SMS, where the messages would come in, they would be showing as unread. So you can attend to them when it is convenient to you and still manage the real-time voice, or you can distribute it whichever way you want.
Awesome, great question. Any other questions?
Thanks, Robbie. Yes, Bill Pedersen, how about order tracking? I've placed an order and want to check and see where it's at in transit. Great question. Yes, Bill, we have the ability to do that. We actually have the ability to do that automated so that somebody could literally call in if the customer wants, and via an IVR, it'll automatically detect the customer's phone number, and they can just say, it'll authenticate much like your bank does or your credit card or airline of choice. It'll say, it'll verify it's you, and then just say, what do you want to know? And you say, I want to track my package. And then it'll actually look up in real time on the backside of into the database of the tracking number, and it'll send a text message to you with those relevant details. Or as part of a customer service transaction, when you're checking out, you can actually have the systems via our APIs send the customer a tracking number via SMS along with email confirmation or anything else. You also asked about outbound reverse 911 notification for GovEd accounts. We do have the ability that I believe you're looking for notifications of when large accounts have to dial 911, that an administrator or supervisor is notified of those calls. Yes, we can do that. We have a lot of ways that our voice system, which you're familiar with some of the accounts you've sold, can actually notify those out to the customer via SMS as well. So there's another question I'm going to send over to Robbie. Do you want to take this one?
Sure. This is about the contact center. What does it look like for a user who wants to own the entire conversation from Penny?
Yes.
Is that the question? Yes.
Yes.
When you say if the user wants to own the entire conversation, can you be more specific? I didn't quite understand that question on what owning the conversation means.
Well, I think what she's looking for, and I'll just guess, and she can clarify, but what that means is that she doesn't want the SMS messages to go to anybody else except for them. Let's just say a doctor. But they do want their phone calls, the ability to answer, by the answering service after hours, that would be just fine. And again, these are separate credentials, separate logins and systems, so that they literally can be managed entirely separately, and not one or the other has no effect on the other. So that can be done.
If that is the question, each user can have their own queue, or each user can have their own mailboxes. The third alternative is a user can be part of the doctor's application here, where the application can be specific to the login that the application provides, and we can provide an API access which they would be able to manage. So there are many ways to handle this individually, where the user can be restricted to a particular number, a particular customer, and few other things. Is that the question, or did we misinterpret it?
For others that may be on board, we have a lot of contact centers and after-hours answering services. So that's what some of these are related to. Bill asked a follow-up question about his after-hours and the ability to manage after-hours the same way that he manages calls. The short answer is yes. There's rules-based routing in here. There's a lot of things. It just depends on if it's for a contact center versus an individual. Your individual office line might, you might manage differently than obviously your main company line. So it just depends on how you want that handled.
Right. Just to add one more thing, we are right now doing a small project with one of our customers to integrate our IVR into SMS. So after hours, you can have an IVR, and that IVR can have an integration with SMS. And again, depends on whether you have systems or have the ability to manage all this, and we can do that integration. I'll take the next question from Eileen. Good morning to you, Eileen. The question is, can this service has a chat session or a service on client's website? We are working on the next version, which will be out in 1 to 2 months, where we would have an Omni client that will do a web-based chat API integration into our queues, where you would have both chat as well as the SMS arriving into the same window. So yes, we are working on it, and if you have an immediate need, I'd love to work with you.
Follow-up from Beth: if the answering service client does want to take care of the SMS interaction during their open hours, can they do so? The answer is yes, they can. Bill, no, it does not. It is unless we work with the API. So I'd have to look at that one separately.
Right. Let me answer that question, maybe just to add a few more things. If BroadSoft's mobile app has the open APIs, they can use our APIs and integrate it into the mobile app. It is possible. But we don't know about BroadSoft's ability, because last I heard when I spoke to them was they had some restrictions on how the APIs can be used on the mobile app. But they have a web-based version which Greg and team are currently evaluating, so there could be other capabilities there. If it is a one-on-one conversation, Perry, there is a question on dispatch or scheduling. You can have one-on-one because we have 3 different products. If I have to summarize, one is a queue-based distribution. The second, we call it SMS Personal. Third, we call it API-based service, where the API can either integrate to third-party applications, or we can also add them to the products that are already existing on the internet. So as far as that is concerned, we can probably, if it is a one-on-one conversation, we would be able to give you SMS Personal, and everything remains within that box.
Bill, if you've got some of those that you want to work on, we'll just reach out to you and make sure you get all the answers you need.
We know Bill. Bill, you can definitely reach us.
All right. Is there anything else that we needed to cover, Nicole?
I don't think so, as long as everybody's questions are answered. Here's our contact information. So if you think of something later that you have a question on, please feel free to give us a call anytime. We're happy to help. You can also reach us at the email address on our website, has a bunch of information as well. So please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, as for Beth's quick question before we leave, so the way that this service works is it's actually it's very inexpensive, and it's really just priced on a per message basis. The SMS versus MMS. So the way that you could integrate that with your existing contact center clients might be, either in a similar fashion, or you can just provide it as a service. For a flat monthly fee. So I'm not sure if you work predominantly with Aubrey or Lori or Nicole, but you can go ahead and they'll work with you and we'll get you something that you need. So, hi, Dave. So, all
sure,
right.
Eileen, I'll call you.
Perfect. All right, everybody, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. There are some handouts there you can download and, share with anybody, but please reach out to us. We're happy to take the discussion offline and customize it specific to your needs. Thanks. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everybody.